We are unique. There is no one else like us. And yet we think relationships are a one-size-fits-all. Even within the structures of monogamy or polyamory, there's so much space to find your unique expression. The secret is really looking at what expectations you've put on yourself and asking yourself if the expectations are serving you or keeping you from really enjoying your life and relationship. Getting to know yourself so intimately will help you begin this exploration. Welcome to the Relationship Diversity Podcast, where we celebrate, question, and explore all aspects of relationship structure diversity, from soloamory to monogamy to polyamory and everything in between, because every relationship is as unique as you are. We'll bust through societal programming to break open and dissect everything we thought we knew about relationships, to ask the challenging but transformational questions: who am I, and what do I really want in my relationships? I'm your guide, Carrie Jaroslaw, best-selling author, speaker, intuitive, and coach. Join me as we reimagine all that our most intimate relationships can become. I went into parenting with a lot of big expectations. I was going to have a beautiful home birth. My son was going to easily breastfeed. He would sleep through the night. I would be a super engaged mom. He wouldn't watch any TV or screen in his first few years. And I'd love motherhood. It would be second nature to me. None of that happened. Instead, I felt like a failure from the moment he was pulled out of me via emergency C-section. That feeling of failure created an unhealthy, unconscious desire to feel successful. It made me become a mother that was not based on who I really was or the circumstances of my life. And it all felt really forced. I had heavy self-judgments that debilitated me. All I wanted to do was put on the mask of a perfect mother who had all her shit together. And guess what? I was miserable. I lost myself. Actually, the weight of this ideal mom belief suffocated me until I saw what was happening, and I began to really look at my life and make changes. Here's what I found. My husband worked most days and nights. My son rarely slept and was up every morning at 5 a.m. without fail. We had no family in town, and I was alone and exhausted the majority of the time. I was having trouble bonding with my son, and I was still recovering from his traumatic birth months and years afterwards. And here is how I started to loosen my unhealthy expectations. I started letting him watch a little screen so I could have a little break. I let myself take naps when he did. I made food from a box some days, or let him eat nothing for dinner if he didn't want to, which was a lot of the time. I used to say he ate like a little bird. Side note, he's a teenager and everything is completely different. But I asked my friends for help when I was struggling, and I made sure I connected with other moms that I could just be myself fully. And guess what? After I allowed myself to be truthful and release those unrealistic expectations, I started enjoying motherhood. I found fulfillment from what I was good at and loved to do instead of what I thought I should be doing. And the same can be said about relationships. We are unique. There is no one else like us. And yet we think relationships are a one-size-fits-all. Even within the structures of monogamy or polyamory, there's so much space to find your unique expression. I like to look at diversity within the basic structures in the context of 1, timing, and 2, structure. So we'll go into timing first. The most dynamic, rewarding relationships are continually evolving. Just because you choose a relationship structure one year doesn't mean you can't choose a different one another year or another month. This could look like the following. choosing monogamy as you have and raise children, and then opening up to non-monogamy as the children get older and more independent. Choosing soloamory as you develop a deeper intimacy with yourself, and then choosing monogamy after meeting someone who aligns with your visions and goals. Choosing polyamory while you're dating, and then deciding to be monogamous when conceiving a child. There are so many possibilities. This is where compassionate communication comes in. Always staying in a space where you're able to express your needs and desires, and also staying in a space where you're able to deeply listen to your partner's needs and desires. This is essential. There are complexities sown throughout, especially if one partner desires to shift structures and another partner doesn't. And this is a really big topic, and I'll devote an entire episode to this in the future. The next idea that I want to talk about in terms of the gold within between the structures is the actual relationship structure diversity. So from each of the 4 basic structures, there's an entire world that lives within each one. Going back to my story about my first years of motherhood, I didn't have to throw out everything that was in this perfect mother box. I could pick and choose and develop my unique way to show up as the mother to my child in my circumstance. So being fluid within the relationship structure could look like this. For soloamory, I choose to be on my own but casually date. Or I choose to live my own life but experience a close heart connection with another person or other people. For monogamy, it could look like this. I'm in a monogamous relationship, but we sleep in different rooms because we sleep better alone. I prefer monogamy, but I like having my money separately. I'm in a monogamous relationship, but I live in my own place separately from my partner. And that actually has a name called living apart together, or LAT. For open relationship, I have a primary partner and we consensually agree that we can have other connections but don't have intercourse with them. When we are out of town on business, we can have sexual experiences, but not in our hometown. Or we only want to have an outside sexual experience together, so we must agree on who the person is and how it happens. Now for polyamory, it could look like this. We have a primary partner that we share a home, house, children, finances with, and that person is our priority, while the other loving partners are secondary. I am completely autonomous, and I make my own rules in my relationships. I communicate my needs and desires to my other partners, but ultimately decisions, schedules, and preferences come from what I want. Or I have many different loving, intimate relationships, and yet I prefer to live alone. So these scenarios are just scratching the surface of all the diverse ways intimate relationships can be structured. I believe the secret is really looking at what expectations you've put on yourself and asking yourself if the expectations are serving you or keeping you from really enjoying your life and relationship. Getting to know yourself so intimately will help you begin this exploration. Now ask yourself this. What is one expectation I have about my relationship that is suffocating the parts that are good? How could I let go or shift this expectation and come up with a new way of being in its place that will feel aligned and true to my unique self? When we haven't been in touch with ourselves or feel for one reason or another that it's not okay to be our true selves, we need to find the courage, guidance, and support from others to help us. Your beautiful, unique self is waiting patiently to be seen. I see you, and I'm thankful you're here. To support you, the next part in our ongoing conversation about diversity will be the relationship with yourself, because it really is the foundation of every relationship. Stay tuned and stay curious. Thank you for listening to the Relationship Diversity Podcast. Want to learn more about relationship diversity? I've got a free guide I'd love to send you. Go to www.relationshipdiversitypodcast.com to get yours sent right to you. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast. You being here and participating in the conversation about relationship diversity is what helps us create a space of inclusivity and acceptance together. The more comfortable and normal it is to acknowledge the vast and varied relating we all do, the faster we'll shift to a paradigm of conscious, intentional, and diverse relationships. New episodes are released every Thursday. Stay connected with me through my website, carriejaroslow.com, Instagram, and TikTok. Stay curious. Every relationship is as unique as you are.